Welcome everybody to Steve Couper's podcast for real estate investors, the show where high-income professionals learn how to build long-term wealth through passive real estate investing. I'm your host, Steve Couper, and I help professionals in the aerospace, medicine, and dentistry industry grow their wealth through multifamily real estate, time, hassle, or guesswork. I'd like to actually remind everybody to hit the like button, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, and if you like this a lot, then you should share it with your friends, please. So today, I'm super excited. My guest today is Theresa Beneteau, and she is a real estate investing coach. She's an author. She is a expert speaker, an award-winning investor. She specializes in wholesaling. I mentioned author. You can see the book in the background, Insta Wholesaler. I'm looking forward to learning all about wholesaling and everything to do with Theresa. Welcome to the show, Theresa. Did I get anything wrong?
You nailed it. You nailed it, Steve. Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Good. Oh, good. So can you maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm 57 today.
Congratulations and happy birthday.
Well, I've been 57 for about 6 months, but the biggest thing is that I also started into real estate when I was 20. So I'm very passionate about real estate. And not only that is that, being a wife, a mom, a daughter, and literally positioning myself to where I have the time freedom that I can choose what it is that I want to do, which makes every difference in the world, and how you experience your world becomes very different. And I've been blessed on my journey, and I love four-wheeling. I love fishing. Just came back from a four-wheeling trip last week, and it's all about trailblazing, and that's actually my handle online is Trailblazing Theresa. And super excited about being here and super excited about helping people. Is that I'm very passionate about real estate, and also very passionate about how real estate is literally blending real estate into your current world, where whatever it is that you're up to.
Right on, right on. You say you started in your 20s.
Started when I was 20. I bought my first house when I was 20 years old.
So times have changed a little bit, just a little bit. I too bought my first house in my 20s, and it's a whole world away from what I'm doing now. But I think that the experiences you gain when you're young help you when you mature into something that's your business. Tell me about the evolution then. How did you go from buying your first house to now doing this full time?
Yeah, so great question. And the biggest thing for me is I was 20 years old, moved out on my own for the first time. I was working two jobs, and I couldn't save up a down payment even though I was working really hard. So my parents loaned me the down payment, moved into my first house. It was a white house, the white picket fence, everything that you can imagine. It was great. And then at the end of 30 days, all of a sudden the mortgage payment was due, and the taxes were due, and the insurance was due, and the utilities were due, and then the grass had to be cut, and all I had was a pair of scissors. I didn't have a lawnmower, and I'm sitting here going like, what did I do wrong? Why am I being punished? Yeah. And I realized, even though back then my weekly mortgage payment was $117 a month, right? I'm sorry, a week. And it was hard to scrape by that along with everything else when you had to still pay for all the other things. The tap was dripping. I had to fix that. So I literally went from being this high up and excited and I got life going on. I got life by the ankles, to all of a sudden, now what am I going to do? Am I going to lose my house? What's going to happen? So I reached out to a real estate agent and I said, can you come over and discuss some options with me? And he said, sure. And I'll never forget it. He shows up and he's driving this white sports car. He comes to the door, and of course I'm letting him in, and he's got this brown, suit on, white collared shirt, and he's just looking fine, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm in jogging pants and a t-shirt, a baseball cap, and and I'm looking at him, and and he's sitting at my kitchen table and he's going over options. And all I can hear is wah, 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 because the voices in my head were beating me up. The voices in my head were saying, what are you doing wrong, Theresa? You know what? Success is for everybody but you. Clearly you did something wrong. You didn't save enough. You're not working enough. You're not enough. Like, I was so down on myself as he was talking to me. And then I mustered up the courage, Steve, to just look at him. His name was Rick for short. And I said, Rick, I said, what am I doing wrong? I said, I hear all these other people that are in real estate, they're buying multifamily, I'm seeing apartment buildings, and I said, what am I doing wrong? And that's when he said to me, he says, well, have you ever thought of wholesaling? And I said, what do you mean? Buying stuff in bulk, like taking on another job. Like I can't work any more than I am now. And he said, no, no, no. He said, wholesaling. He says, you don't have to put a property in your name. You don't have to qualify for a mortgage. You don't need a down payment. And my eyes got like this, Steve. I was like, I'm looking at him and I said, Rick, I said, is this legal? And he starts to laugh and he says, yeah, I've been doing it for years. And I said, well, I said, if it's legal, I said, I'm in. And I said, if it's not, I'm just going to sit here and listen. And he was anyway, he's talking to me and he says, yeah, he says, it's actually putting a property under contract. You find someone to buy that contract and you make the money in between. And I was, and I'm like, okay, like, look, you need to mentor me. You need to teach me. You've got to tell me absolutely everything that you know about this thing, right? And he said, and he gave me basically 3 rules. As he said, one, he says, Theresa, he goes, first thing is, he says, you're gonna have to work hard, And I said, Rick, I said, I'm already working hard. I'm already working 2 jobs. Like I already know what that's like. And then he said to me, he says, well, he said, you're gonna have to invest in yourself. And I said, that's fine. I says, I will bet on myself all day, every day. And then he said, the other thing, he says, the most important thing, he said, is never quit. And I said, I'm not a quitter. And he literally, I went gangbusters. He gave me a track to run on and I ran. And I've been able to take that event that was so pivotal at 20 years old and bringing it into where being able to have a portfolio of real estate, to be able to bring that into being, a property manager, a project manager, being able to develop that into fix and flips, buy and hold strategies, multi-units. I've been able to take that all the way into doing passive income. So to me, Steve, is that everyone should do at least one wholesale deal, just one, just for the experience, just for what you've got to go through to be able to navigate all the moving parts to it and literally using it to springboard to wherever it is you want to go. Some people want to live doing wholesaling. Some people want to use it to springboard to get them to where they want to grow. Either way works.
Interesting. I don't think a lot of people understand this, but effectively what you're doing is flipping paperwork, if I understand it correctly.
That is correct.
Rather than having to do the hands-on work, you're really finding the deals and connecting the opportunity with the investors so that they can actually get together and move forward.
Absolutely.
Very, very cool. And I can only imagine that this is something that's subject to market fluctuations as well. Do you find that, like Ontario goes up and down, do you get caught in the midst of that, or is this something where it's strong all the time?
It's completely recession-proof. I went through 5 recessions since 1988. So there's been 5 recessions that I've been part of, and also COVID. Like the whole world was part of that. So it really doesn't have to do with just Ontario, is that I have students in North America. So it doesn't matter where you are. As long as there's real estate available, as long as there's people who want to sell and people who want to buy, there's always going to be a market for you to be able to go in there and wholesale a property. It doesn't matter where the world is at as far as economically. It doesn't matter if we're in a recession. My experience tells me that I'm either in a recession, about to be in a recession, or just coming out of a recession.
Yeah.
37 years, right?
No,
and the beauty about
Sorry, no, I was going to say I agree with that for sure. I've been watching the roller coaster and it's part of the ride as well. So you mentioned something in there I want to make sure I touch on. So your wholesale market is all of North America.
That is correct. My students are vast across North America. So I have students that are in the United States that are choosing to do something in Canada, wholesaling deals. And I have students in Canada that are actually wanting to wholesale deals in the United States as well as within their own countries.
Right on. So do they go visit these properties, or is this all something you can navigate online?
You know what? You can choose whatever you want. There was a deal that I had done. There was a gentleman who reached out to me He wanted $530,000 for his property, and I was actually on vacation. So I wasn't even in the city that I live in. The property wasn't in the city that I was visiting on my vacation. So he reached out to me and he said, Theresa, I need to sell the property. So I made a couple phone calls. I got a hold of a buyer that I knew. I said, can you go look at this property? And I said, let me know what you think about it. I says, help me, either you buy it, find a buyer. He went to see the property, got back to me right away and said, Theresa, I'll buy it right now. He says for $455,000. I called the seller back and I said, okay, look, I said, what's going on? Do you have a place to go? The seller said to me, Theresa, I just found a house that we want. He says, if you give me a cash offer right now, which that means for anybody listening is an unconditional offer. It meant that when I said, I'm giving you $425,000, it's a handshake. It's a done deal. There's no conditions. It's all cash. It's straightforward. And he said, if you can give me 425 right now, he said, I'm done. So I was able to wholesale that deal for $455,000. I made $30,000. By the time I got back from my vacation, the wired funds were already in my bank account. I never visited the property. I never met the owner, and I never met the buyer in person.
Wow. $1,000. So they paid you to go on vacation pretty much.
pretty much. As I was trailblazing on my four-wheeler, I was coming back to the hotel. I was making a couple of calls. And I mean, the reality of it is that it's simple. It's not easy unless you have someone who's been there. Is that, with my coaching program, that's where it all ties it in. But the reality of it is Steve, is that you don't have to ever visit the property. You don't ever have to visit the owner. You can literally do it remotely.
It's magic. I love this. I love it. So how long to build up that kind of reputation that people call you? And I mean, you're not looking on the MLS for deals. You've got deals coming to you and you've got buyers coming to you, right? So you've got a funnel for both ends.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something. When you say to me, how long, if you say, how long did it take me? Well, I've been doing this for 37 years. Yeah. Now, that being said, if I can reframe the question and say, okay, how long could it take someone? Well, back in 88, we didn't have this beautiful thing called internet.
Right.
We didn't have a thing called Facebook. We didn't have Zooms, podcasts. So we had newspaper. And you had to put a note out. And I was making calls from a corded phone. There was no cell phones. So when you say, how long did it take me? In the beginning was painful. There was no such thing as a paid ad. And actually, when I would put my ad in the paper, if you went over 3 lines, it cost you an extra $50. So you made sure that you learned, you didn't spell correctly. You made, you even put typos so you could put as much as you could in 3 little lines to get your phone to ring.
This is where it all began.
So now, how long does it take? I mean, you start a Facebook ad, boom. Like even for my students right now, what I'm doing is I'm including motivated sellers. I'm including leads. How long does it take to get your first lead? 5 minutes, right? Yeah. How long does it take to get a buyer? How long does it take you to type on Facebook? Are you interested in buying a property that needs a bit of work or that you can close quickly and get a discount? How long does it take you to type? 5 minutes.
Magic.
So exactly, Steve, like today compared to then, I mean, to walk in and what I know now, because what I did then works today, but it's a lot slower, right? Walking up to each individual person and that's painful, takes a longer time. But now everything is done in like minutes, right?
So do you feel that reputation plays a big role in success wholesaling now?
Well, I would say that it helps me with buyers. Motivated sellers, I'm not showing up as a professional. I'm showing up as a problem solver. I don't go to them with my reputation or my badge. Like I don't show up in a suit to go talk to a motivated seller, right? As an example.
So problem solving is really what you do. And that's key, I think, to so many aspects of investing in real estate is where's the value that you're providing others? How do we all win through this? That's
100%.
Magic.
100%.
So tell me, this coaching program of yours, how many students do you run at a time? What does this look like? Tell us about your coaching program.
Yes. So I can run up to, right now I'm running a cycle of 10 at a time. to where I am getting them positioned where I've got them, because I've got modules. I've got a 13 module coaching program as well, so that they're not, they're not walking in going like, oh my goodness, what do I do? So there's the coaching as far as the modules go, where they can learn at their own pace on their own timeline. And then we've got the group coaching that's going on, and that's once a week for 1 hour. And then they're also part of a Facebook group. And the one thing that I'm doing right now for any new students, Steve, that you're events, is what I'm doing is I'm actually offering them a 3x money back guarantee, that when they enroll in my program, if they don't get the results within 6 months, if they don't get 3 times that, I will now coach them for an additional 6 months until they do.
Nice. Wow, that's amazing. And so how long have you been running the coaching program? How many students have you graduated?
I started the coaching right after my book launch. So my coaching has been started in January of this year.
Okay.
So my first batch of students are going to be graduating within the next month or so of getting through what it is that they're doing and following the system that's happening. I've mentored hundreds of students, but I never charged them, to be honest with you. Is that what I would do is that I was in partnerships, and I was teaching people how to do it. And what I found is that when people were now saying to me, well, instead of us being partners and I'm giving you half of everything we're making, how about you teach me what to do and I can keep more of it, right? Because I was making a lot more money partnering with them than I am coaching them, to be 100% honest. So I decided to launch the coaching program this year in 2025.
Wow. Let's talk about the book. Where is it?
Yes.
I have my copy here.
Awesome. Thank you.
What was the motivation there, and how has that experience been for you?
The motivation was, there was a lot going on in my personal life at the time. There was a lot, and it was there was definitely some personal challenges that were going on. And in the middle of all of these challenges happening is literally making a decision to reframe. And for anybody listening, is that reframing is so powerful. If you don't know what reframing is, it's literally taking a word that is negative and putting it into a positive connotation. Reframing, frustration turns into fascination, right? Loss looks into seeking, right? It's whatever, and you can use ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. That's an awesome invention, in my opinion. Taking those moments to reframe. And I've been very blessed because I do have a circle of people that are more successful than me. They're my mentors. And when they're saying to me, Theresa, you know what, with all the knowledge that you have, write a book. And I started thinking about writing a book when I turned 55. And I never wanted to write a book, but I was like, everybody was like, write a book, you should write a book. So being able to take that experience into, we'll say, a darker time of my life because of what was happening, and taking that energy and saying, okay, you know what? I want to give what I've learned. I have all this stuff going on in my brain. I've had all these successes. There's all these pivotal moments in my life, all these experiences, all these ways that literally I can take someone from no money to money. And I thought, wouldn't it be a shame if it never got out, if no one ever knew what was going on? And it wasn't about arrogance, it was about service and being able to serve people in doing that, right? So taking that moment and, disciplining myself, it took 10 months to write the book. And for me, when I realized, when now I was getting the feedback from people, and it was literally, for me, anybody listening, is that you can take anything that's going on in your life and you can transform yourself in those moments. You can look at it and go, you know what, I'm either gonna, or you're gonna fall down, right? You're gonna get hit. Life is gonna hit you, especially if you're up to something, right? The more up you want to go, the more you're gonna get knocked down. All I'm saying is, don't stay down. In those moments, do something that's going to change your life or change someone else's life.
It's a hard lesson for people to understand, but that's the best time to move, isn't it? When you're down. Hey, there's a word that I associate with you, and that's accountability. Tell me about what that word means to you.
Accountability, number one, is to the person in the mirror. Is that if I say to you that I'm going to be somewhere and I'm not there, that's one thing. The other thing is that when I look at the person in the mirror and say, I'm not going to show up for you, that's a whole other thing. So to be able to come from that accountability and to be able to say to myself, you know what? I'm going to be my word, because I'm going to tell you something, everybody. You only have your word. And if you get known as the person who doesn't show up, if you get known as the person who, doesn't care, if you get known as the person who's all talk and no action, if you get noticed as the person who's up to something, if you get noticed as the trailblazer, if you get noticed as the person who's everywhere, I'm getting people now that are saying, Theresa, you are everywhere. Some people are calling me up going like, I don't even know where you live. And I'm like, that means I'm doing it well because I have a presence everywhere. And it's the accountability is that I want to be better than I was yesterday. And that has been something in me my whole life. I didn't come from a silver spoon. I came from dysfunction. That's the truth. And so I've had to navigate within that dysfunction. I've had to make something out of that dysfunction. I've had to rise above the dysfunction. I've had to continually reset and renew and revamp myself and recreate myself multiple times my entire life. And so to me, accountability is that I look at the person in the mirror and say, I got you. We're going to do this. And I don't want to go alone, Steve. I don't need to coach. I can just do this. I don't need to be out there. I didn't need to write a book. I didn't need to do all these things. But the person that I'm most accountable to is me. And the other part of being accountable to me is being a service to others. Is I want to be known as she helped me a little bit. She played a little part in my life. I read her book and I learned this. I did her coaching and I got this. When my students say to me, I got one last night that messaged me. He's in South Carolina. And he said, Theresa, I don't know if anybody's told you, any of your students have told you how helpful you are and how, because of you, all these other things that have gone on. One of my students joined to be a wholesaler and he became a CEO of a company. He didn't even do a real estate deal. But I mean, he was headhunted because I only know how to elevate. I only know how to lift you up and get you to where you want to go. And sometimes, Steve, people come to me, they don't know what they want. They think it's called wholesaling. And great, let's start here. And then all of a sudden they're pivoting. No, I'm now doing this. I'm now doing this. And I'm like, fly, right? Reach the sky. And that's my biggest message to people is, and be accountable, right? Do what you say you're going to do by when you said you would do it. And barring your death or your demise or your inability to physically be accountable to make that call to say, I'm going to be late, I can't be there, then you be your word.
Theresa, you've had 37 years of success here in wholesaling and in real estate. You've got a successful coaching program up on the and you've got an amazing book that you've written, lifting people's spirits. What is it that's moving you? What is your why? Where are you going to get to? What is your goal, and how exactly are you going to know when you get there?
And great questions, great questions. And I'll tell you is that my drive used to be my son, who's now grown up, so he doesn't need his mom the way that he used to, right? He's 25 years old. I actually love him. I absolutely adore him. I'm super proud of him. He's chosen education over self-employment. I don't know how that happened, but which is great. And he's very successful in his field. He just called me last night. He's got an opportunity to work, within a hospital setting. And so he was always my why when he was little. I was a single mom for a period of time. And, it was like, I had to do it for him. I had to do it for him. And then, it moved to, I need to take care of my aging parents, which I don't do that anymore. And so my why keeps evolving. And what I've realized from my whys is that it was never about Theresa Beneteau. It was never about, where do I want to go? Where, how, I love your question of, how will I know when I get there, is that I plan on being the one who, doesn't look good in the coffin, right? I want to be the one that's gotten all the juice out of life. And my goal is to get to 100 and beyond and doing it healthy. And my thing is that my why is literally that new person. My niche is 18 to 30-year-olds. I will coach anyone who wants to talk about real estate, but my niche are those young minds of, you know what, you're unstoppable. You can do whatever you want. And I want to be like my parents did the best they could with what they had. And what I've learned from them was hard work and doing the best with what they had. And now what I want to do in turn is hard work and doing the best with what I have. And my best with what I have is I want to give back. I want to be able to support people. I want to be the person that is in your corner when maybe you feel like no one else is. Maybe you feel like everybody's just coming down on you and the world is, collapsing on you. And I want to be that one voice going like, don't stop now. You can do this. And I want to be your biggest fan. Whoever that person is in front of me is, I want to be their biggest fan. I believe that the human mind is so powerful. And I'll give you an example. Is that number one, the brain cannot think in the negatives. So I'll do a short exercise is don't think of the color blue. Don't think of the color blue. Don't think of the color blue. What color are you thinking about?
Well, it came up that I've got this blue thing in front of me here.
That's right. Exactly. And because the brain can't think in the negative. So when you say to yourself, don't be stressed out, don't be negative, don't do whatever it is, the brain cannot think in the negative. And the other experiment is, if you can close your eyes for 30 seconds, is picture yourself that you walk to your fridge and you're taking a lemon out of the tray. And now you've got the lemon on the countertop and you're taking a knife and you're cutting through that lemon and you can see the juice just pouring out, right? Now what I want you to do is I want you to take that slice of lemon and I want you to put in your mouth and I want you to chew on it. Keep chewing on it. Now what I want you to do is I want you to open up your eyes and I want to know, did your mouth salivate?
Absolutely.
But there was no lemon, Steve.
The mind is a magical thing, isn't it?
And I got goosebumps every time I do that, and even though I know what I'm going to do, my mouth still salivates. It still is, right? Is that the mind, that's how powerful. The mind does not know the difference between reality and fantasy. It doesn't know the difference between truth and a lie. It doesn't know anything. There was never a lemon in my mouth, but my body reacted as if there was. And that's the power of the coaching. That's just a small element of what I do with my students, is that getting them to realize how powerful they are. I was also at a Tony Robbins event. I walked on fire. I walked on 2,000 degrees of flames with, bare feet. Wow. And I didn't even so much as get a blister. So that's the power, right, that I bring as a coach. And that's the power that each and every one of you have inside of you. Whoever's listening to this podcast right now was meant to hear my words. You are meant for more. You are made for more. You are wired for more. And maybe you've been playing small. And all I'm saying is that it's time. Enough is enough. This is your time. This is your moment to shine. I would love the opportunity to coach you. I would love the opportunity to just even say to you, get a coach, get a mentor, get someone who's passionate about whatever it is that you want to get into, and go live your dreams. The sky's the limit, Steve. And I want all of our listeners to really get their head around that. It's not about who, what, where. It's about you. It's about you looking in the mirror and you doing it for you.
I love that message. Wow. That was so powerful, so strong. Theresa, if somebody wants to reach out to you, they want to learn more about your coaching program or just connecting, how should they best do that?
Absolutely. TheresaBeneteau.com, as it's on the screen, on the little blurb, it's TheresaBeneteau.com. And by all means, I'm offering a free 30-minute strategy call that, cheater alert, I usually go past my 30 minutes. And, but the thing is that I tell you is that we can sit down virtually over Zoom and literally break it out. Where are you? Where do you want to go? And what's the gap? And I'm here to fill it.
I love this. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said at the beginning, I'm looking to connect subject matter experts with aspiring investors and bridge the gap. Look at the value that Theresa brought today. This has been amazing. So wonderful having you as guest on the podcast. Let's see if anybody wants to learn how to build wealth in real estate. Well, I think that they should be maybe talking to Theresa. Thank you so much for having time with us today, Theresa. It's been a real pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much, Steve, for the opportunity. And, you're really giving a lot of value to your listeners like this and bringing people and, keep doing the great work, Steve. That's a great, and I'm glad that I've had an opportunity to see you in person as well as on a Zoom screen. So thank you very much and be blessed.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.